I always held the idea that commitment counted for something. That if you arrived ahead of time, stayed past closing, kept your head low, and put your effort in, folks would notice. That kin especially would notice. I was mistaken. It happened on a Wednesday morning when everything shifted. I recall the low sound of the overhead lights near the welcome desk, the way the fresh blooms on the counter smelled faintly of roses, my mom's favorite. I had just refreshed the lobby suite jar and was checking the meeting planner when the glass entrance swung open and my Mr. Thompson stepped out with the directors trailing behind him. "Clara," he said, his voice sharp and flat, like he was grinding stones. "Meeting room B." "Now." I stopped in my tracks. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't even a full sentence, just an instruction. I glanced at the calendar. There wasn't a meeting with me listed. The conference room was full. Every key person was seated, including my older brother Sam, who gave me a swift smirk before looking away. I took the sole empty chair at the far edge, facing my Mr. Thompson. He didn't delay. "We've been looking at the company layout," he started, standing like he was talking to strangers instead of his own girl. "It's time we make some tough choices, Clara." He looked right at me. "Your spot has been looked at again." I blinked. "I don't get it." "You're a greeter," he said. "You welcome guests, handle calls. That's not a key function. We need skilled people running this place. Family or not, I don't care." The room fell silent for a moment, like even the air had paused. And then someone chuckled. Then another. I think it was one of the finance folks. I couldn't tell. My sight went blurry for a second. They were laughing at me. "I've been here for roughly 5 years," I said softly, barely able to steady my voice. "I've done everything you've ever asked. I know every customer, every inner process, every system refresh. I trained half the group sitting at this table." "That's not the point," he snapped. "You're not suited for anything past the front desk. That's where we started you. And that's where it finishes. We're rearranging things. You'll be leaving by the close of the week. The personnel department has your departure papers." The words didn't make sense. Not right away. My body processed them before my brain did. Leaving. Departure papers. I looked around the table. No one met my gaze. Not even Sam. Especially not Sam. And just like that, my Mr. Thompson turned his back to me and kept speaking to them like I wasn't even present anymore. "Let's move ahead. Next subject, client problem steps." I stayed still for a full minute after he spoke, trying to take a breath without shaking. But my hands trembled. My chest felt hot. I stood up quietly, slowly. My chair hardly made a sound. And then, just as I reached the door to leave, those same glass doors opened again. A man in a dark suit stepped inside the room like he owned the space around him. It was Mr. Miller, head of Sterling Associates, our biggest customer. A man who never came to our office without an arrangement, a man my Mr. Thompson had spent ages trying to charm. He walked past the room table like none of them existed. Then he stopped. "Where is Clara?" he asked. No one replied. He looked around again. "Is she near the entrance?" I turned shocked. He saw me, and his face brightened. "Clara, there you are." He walked up, took my hand. "I've been calling your direct line all morning. I wanted to thank you face-to-face for fixing the delivery matter last week. Saved us $500,000. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My Mr. Thompson stared at us, pale as the marble meeting table. Sam looked like he'd eaten a lemon. "I told your dad last month," Mr. Miller went on, speaking to the room now. "This company runs on its connections. And this lady," he pointed to me, "is the sole reason we're still doing trade with you. Just thought it was time someone stated it aloud." No one chuckled now. I looked at my Mr. Thompson. His mouth was tight, his knuckles white against the edge of the table. He didn't say a thing. And in that quiet, I realized something. I had spent years trying to prove I was worth something. But maybe I'd never needed to prove anything at all. Not to him. Not anymore. I didn't say anything as Mr. Miller left the room. He gave me a nod, a gentle smile, and a final firm handshake before turning and walking back through the same glass doors he came in from. The room was silent in his wake. I stood there, unsure what to do next. Half of me expected anyone to speak, to apologize, to take back what they'd said and admit that maybe I wasn't just a greeter after all. But no one moved, not even my Mr. Thompson. He sat there stiffly, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the polished table like it would offer him words. Maybe something to say to mend what had just fallen apart in front of all of us. But there was nothing. So I turned, walked out the door, and back to the welcome desk for what I thought might be the final time. I sat down in my chair, the same chair I'd used for roughly 5 years, and stared at my reflection in the black screen of the quiet computer display. Behind me, I could hear the hushed voices rising inside the room again. My Mr. Thompson's voice sharp. Sam's defensive. Words I couldn't make out, but I didn't need to hear the details. I already knew what they were discussing. Me. By the close of the day, the whole office had heard. The murmurs started slowly. A colleague who used to avoid eye contact suddenly offered me hot tea. One of the younger analysts, Emily, stopped by to say hello and nervously asked if what happened in the room was true. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. People don't ask those sorts of questions unless they already know the reply. That evening, I left exactly at 5 o'clock. No extra hours, no last-minute message checks, no updating the call records or refiling documents. Just me walking out into the cool autumn air with my bag over my shoulder, feeling the sharp sting of being let down in my chest. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to the edge of the city, parked near the old diner I used to go to when I was fresh out of school, and sat in the car with the engine off. The parking area was mostly empty. The windows fogged as I sat there, staring at the dashboard, running everything through my head again and again. What had I done wrong? Had I pushed too hard to be noticed? Had I made myself too available, too helpful, to the point where they forgot I was more than the role I filled? Or maybe, just maybe, they had never truly seen me at all. A knock on my window startled me. It was Emily, the analyst from earlier. She held 2 to-go coffee cups in her hands. I took a chance, she said with a nervous smile. Thought maybe this is where you'd be. I rolled down the window slowly. How did you know? You talk about this place a lot, she said, especially when things get tough. I opened the door, stepped out, and accepted the coffee. We leaned against the car, not saying anything for a long while. Then she spoke. Everyone's talking about what Mr. Miller said today, she said. They're not laughing anymore. I nodded slightly. Too late for that. No, she said. It's not. Not for you. She handed me a napkin. On it, scribbled in blue ink, were a list of names. 10 or 12 coworkers. They want to help, she said. You've been helping everyone else for ages, keeping things steady behind the scenes. They recall that. I looked at the names. People from selling, from tech help, even someone from personnel. I folded the napkin carefully and tucked it into my coat pocket. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I made a decision. They might have taken away a job title, but they hadn't taken my worth. And I wasn't going to walk out with my head down. Not yet. Not without making sure everyone in that office knew exactly who they'd tried to dismiss. Because respect isn't something you're given. It's something you demand. And I was done being quiet. By Thursday morning, I noticed the shift. It wasn't obvious. Not at first, but it was there. A pause in chats when I walked by. Longer than usual glances from colleagues who used to barely notice me. A nod from the finance chief, Mr. Jenkins, who usually only acknowledged the key people. Something was different. I sat at my desk. Still technically the greeter, still handling calls, but I had stopped pretending. I didn't force a smile. I didn't chuckle at bad jokes or fetch last-minute copies for meetings I wasn't asked to attend. I did my job well, calmly, like someone who already knew something no one else did. Because I did. Mr. Miller's visit had broken something open, not just in my Mr. Thompson, but in the company. Word traveled fast, faster than even I had expected, and not just inside our walls. Customers started calling, asking for me by name. It started with a message from our supply partner, Tariq in Singapore. Then another from Bella in London. Then a call from a senior rep at Zenith Capital. All with the same request, can we talk to Clara? Apparently, I was no longer just the person who greeted them. I was the person they trusted. The one who sorted things out. The one who remembered birthdays and noticed when someone sounded tired on the phone. The one who never needed praise to do the job. Until now. I didn't say much. Even as I sent messages and connected calls to the correct departments, I let the proof speak for itself. Every time someone went around a department head to speak to me, another crack formed in the glass house my Mr. Thompson had built around his key people. By Friday, my brother Sam cornered me near the break room. "You need to stop making this a situation," he said under his breath. I stared at him slowly, sipping my hot tea. "Making what a situation?" He lowered his voice even more. "You know exactly what I mean. Customers going around the usual path, people talking. Dad's really mad." "Maybe he should have understood the mood before letting me go in front of the directors," I replied coolly. Sam leaned closer. "He made a choice. We're rearranging. That's just business." "No," I said, steady and quiet. "That's just pride." He scoffed and walked away. But his shoulders were stiff, his steps faster than usual. He wasn't just upset. He was worried. Later that afternoon, I got a call from Mr. Miller's office. His assistant, Sarah, sounded unsure. "Clara, he'd like to ask you to the quarterly leadership dinner. It's this Saturday, a private event, just partners and important contacts." I paused. "I'm not an important anything." She laughed softly. "You are to him." That night, I sat with the invitation in my hands, heart beating hard in my chest. This wasn't just a casual dinner. It was a signal. Mr. Miller was making it clear I mattered. I considered telling someone. I even started a message draft to my Mr. Thompson, then closed it. Let him find out the way I had found out I was being let go. In a room full of people who were watching. Saturday came quicker than expected. I took the day off, claiming a personal reason. No one asked about it. And at 7 p.m., I walked into the glass-walled restaurant overlooking the bay in a black dress, hair styled up, wearing assurance like armor. Mr. Miller greeted me with real warmth. "I meant what I said the other day," he told me as we sat. "You've been the most consistent, most capable person we've dealt with here. If this company can't see that, it's not your failing, it's theirs." I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. "Thank you." He leaned in, voice low. Unofficially, "How much do you want to stay there?" The question hung in the air like haze. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was I didn't know. Part of me wanted to walk away, build something fresh. But another part, the part that had spent years building the base of this place, wanted to be there when the structure cracked. "I'm not finished yet," I said finally. He nodded. "Good, because I might need your assistance." That night, as I drove home, lights cutting across the front glass, I felt it, the change. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was getting ready. The situation was turning, and they had no idea what was coming next. By Monday morning, I wasn't just the greeter anymore. Not to the group, not to the customers, and certainly not to my Mr. Thompson. But the funny thing about having influence is once people sense you have it, they either try to connect with you or quietly get ready to take it from you. I saw it in the small ways first. A printed meeting plan, normally placed directly into the key person's hands, was now also being, by accident, left on my desk. A few department heads started asking for my thoughts on customer messages, framing it as curiosity, but I could tell they were testing me out. Even Sam stopped by the welcome desk with a fake friendly smile and a forced, "Hey, Clara, everything all right this week?" I knew what he was truly asking. "Are you plotting something?" And the answer was, absolutely. Mr. Miller and I had talked again, this time more directly. His company was planning a joint project with ours, a high-risk partnership that would open doors to global deals. The kind of deal that would shape reputations, careers. He wanted me involved. "They trust you," he said. "You're the face they recognize. Not your brother, not even your father." And that was the moment something became clear. It wasn't about getting back at them anymore. It was about honesty. And if the company was going to move forward with truthfulness, the truth had to come out, not just about my role, but about how far we'd let pride in history outweigh skill. So I started gathering. Quietly, strategically. I dug up years of messages with customers, emails, reports, fix logs. I put together every time I had stepped in to fix errors the key people had hidden. I documented last-minute saves, customer emergencies I calmed down, even holiday coverage when no one else appeared. It wasn't just paperwork. It was a narrative, one they couldn't rewrite. Then I had lunch with Brenda. She'd been in operations for years and knew more than most. She'd always been kind but cautious, never too vocal, never too involved, until now. "I've got something you should view," she said, sliding a small drive across the table. "What is it?" I asked, my voice low. She glanced around. Meeting summaries, internal notes, stuff I was asked to erase. I blinked. "Why didn't you?" She smiled. "Because I've been underestimated, too." That afternoon I stayed late. Everyone else had gone. The lights dimmed except for the shine from my display. I plugged in the drive and opened the files. And there it was. Emails between Sam and my Mr. Thompson discussing image and slowly removing Clara. Phrases like "keep her unaware" and "she's too seen." Customers are starting to notice. But the most damaging, a plan note written by Sam suggesting they take over Clara's duties bit by bit and present her removal as an organizational restructuring. It had a timestamp from a short while before the executive meeting where I was caught completely off guard. I leaned back in my chair, the quietness of the empty workplace pressing in around me. They hadn't simply let me go. They had arranged it carefully, like a secret maneuver behind closed doors. And yet they missed one key point. You don't erase someone who's been the key support for your operations for about 9 years. Not without creating a record. The following morning, I created duplicates. One for myself, one for Mr. Peterson, and one put inside a sealed folder for future use. Then I entered the workplace as if everything was normal, though everything was different. Around 10 o'clock, my father summoned a gathering of senior management. He hadn't held one since the day he sacked me. I wasn't asked to attend, but I had an idea of what would be discussed. Word had it the partnership with Bentley and Sons had slowed down. Mr. Peterson wasn't proceeding until he had assurance of management consistency. I was that assurance. They simply hadn't realized it yet. I observed from the clear partition outside the meeting room. Greg walking back and forth, my father tapping his pen, a rhythm of avoidance. The rest of the managers sitting rigidly, a few exchanging quiet words. Then Mr. Peterson made his appearance. He walked in with his typical composed manner and holding a bag, but this time he had someone with him. I paused for half a minute, then opened the entrance and walked in. Everyone in the room stopped talking. Mr. Peterson offered a small smile and indicated the empty seat next to him. "Ava, please take a seat with us." My father's expression tightened. "She is not part of senior management." Mr. Peterson didn't react. "She is now." I took the seat, not simply to sit, but to regain my ability to speak up. Because this was not about formal positions anymore. It concerned the actual situation. And I had overwhelming evidence. As soon as I was seated next to Mr. Peterson, I sensed the atmosphere shift. Not really, but how people saw things. All the previous ways of interacting, the unstated pecking order, the way everyone looked up to my father or sought approval from Greg, changed. Unexpectedly, folks seemed uncertain where to direct their attention or who was truly in charge in that space. I remained quiet. Initially, I allowed the quietness to make its own statement. Mr. Peterson started the discussion with his normal calm voice, but there was firmness in what he said. "Before we talk about the next steps for the partnership, I want to address something more basic. Trust." That single word landed in the room like a sudden jolt. He glanced around at everyone. "During the last year, I've observed how this business functions. I've paid attention to your dealings with customers, your management setup, and how you all interact within the company. And honestly, I've become worried." My father grew rigid. "Excuse me, but I'm not certain this is the appropriate setting." "No," Mr. Peterson responded sharply, facing him. "This is precisely the right location." Then he reached into his bag and took out a folder, the very one I had provided him with earlier that day. "I've looked over papers that show a concerning situation. A purposeful move to push aside one of your most competent staff members, a staff member who, from everything I've heard, is key to keeping several of your biggest clients, including my own." He opened the folder and pushed it gently across the table towards my father. My father left it where it was. Greg stirred in his chair, his face losing all its color. "This is ridiculous," my father eventually stated. "Ava was just an administrative assistant. We provided her with employment. She was never meant to be." Never what? I interrupted softly. Never skilled enough? Never expected to be anything more than the person who greeted visitors and managed your diary. He turned his head towards me, taken aback by my interruption, but I didn't hesitate. Are you aware of how many times I fixed your errors, Dad? My tone remained steady, composed. How many customers I kept happy when Greg failed to meet a deadline, or when the wrong proposal was sent out, or when someone forgot a name during a virtual meeting. The room remained silent. I didn't do it seeking praise, I carried on. But I also didn't do it expecting to be disregarded. Across the table, Sarah offered a slight nod. Subtle encouragement. Mr. Peterson bent slightly forward. Allow me to be clear. My business will not go ahead with any agreement unless Ava is included in a high-level role. Full stop. She's not an administrative assistant. She's the key reason we've stayed with you for this duration. The significance of his statement lingered in the atmosphere. Then he included, nearly as an extra comment, and if she departs, we will also depart. My father's jaw tightened. You are allowing individual feelings to interfere with business decisions. No, Mr. Peterson replied. You were. Quiet. For a considerable time nobody spoke. Then gradually, my father reached out for the folder, opened it. His gaze quickly read the first sheet, then the following one, and I saw it occur. The understanding that this wasn't merely an awkward instant. This served as proof. This was a revealing, and it was signed off, time-stamped, and could be followed. When he raised his eyes once more, his complexion was ashen. Ava, he spoke, his tone hushed. Why did you not approach me personally? I did, I replied, for 6 years. And for the initial time in my life, he lacked anything to say in return. Following the meeting, folks avoided looking at me. Not because they disliked me, but due to embarrassment. A few seemed as if they wished to speak. Perhaps apologize. Others simply remained silent, uncertain how to deal with the reality that had just been brought into the open under the bright lights. Greg didn't utter anything. Before the week concluded, a formal electronic message was distributed. Greg Stanton will be resigning from his position as senior director, commencing right away. There was no reason was provided, no leaving celebration, no announcement from my father, simply a discreet, planned departure. The word going around was that Greg had been presented with a choice: step down without fuss or confront a company inquiry. Considering the documentation I had provided, his decision was fairly obvious. I didn't feel victorious upon reading that electronic message. I felt stable. That is the sole description I can apply to it, because this was no longer about seeking retribution. It concerned a clear understanding. On the subsequent Monday, I was asked to participate in a group discussion with Mr. Peterson and other vital associates. It was the type of meeting I hadn't even known about until that moment. The kind where important choices were made before the rest of the organization was informed. The type of meeting I was previously told was beyond my level of responsibility. And now I was present in that space, not due to office maneuvering, but because of the evidence. Later, I went back to my workspace and discovered a sealed paper on my desk. No recipient name, only the words "for Ava" written with a pen whose mark I knew immediately. The script of my father. I paused before breaking the seal. Within was a personal message, written by hand. No official company paper. Ava, you have always possessed more resilience than I recognized how to manage. I understand that presently. You didn't simply gain your spot. You protected it even when I created obstacles. That sort of toughness. I did not instill that in you. You acquired it on your own. I do not anticipate being forgiven. I merely wish for you to be aware that I am proud of your achievements. Dad. I read it multiple times before placing it aside. It wasn't ideal. It didn't eliminate his past actions, but it signified a start. A subtle recognition that perhaps, just perhaps, he was also prepared to evolve. That evening, I remained after hours. Not out of obligation, but because I desired to. I strolled through the quiet passages of the workplace I had once considered a familiar place. I went past the entrance area, the staff lounge, the former workstation where I had spent numerous years ensuring things operated smoothly without receiving credit. And I came to an important understanding. We don't merely take on legacies, we reshape them. My father established this business through rigorous effort and ambition, but I was assisting in its rebuilding with something equally crucial: respect. That represented the genuine change. Several days later, I initiated a guidance scheme for newer employees, particularly female staff and those starting out, who were frequently disregarded. We named it From Entry to Advancement. It offered individuals the chance to develop, to be noticed before they were compelled to struggle for visibility. And for the first occasion, I felt as though I wasn't merely coping within the system. I was modifying it. I wasn't resentful. I wasn't furious. I felt a sense of pride. Not because authority had finally been granted to me, but because I had learned I didn't require anyone's approval to assert it. Ultimately, it wasn't the formal description on my door or the place in discussions that held the most significance. It was the voice I had regained control of and the bravery to utilize it. And that, I understood, was the lasting impact I aimed to create. Not just for myself, but for everyone else who had ever been told they were only a certain role.